Hello aspirants, welcome to another video of Ecology and Environment series by Law Excellence. In this video, we'll try to understand different renewable energy resources and several initiatives taken by India in that context. So, what is renewable energy? See, this energy can also be called as clean energy because basically it comes from natural sources or the processes that are constantly replenished or which are carried out again and again. So basically, these are naturally replenished on the human time scale, which means as the time passes, they get replenished. And this also includes carbon neutral sources like the sunlight, wind, rain, tides, waves, and geothermal heat. So, what is the importance of this renewable energy resources in India? First and the foremost and the most important reason is the to reduce the oil demand. See, there's a lot of demand for oil, and which this has been increasing for the last several years. But India has a lot of potential for renewable energy sources, and now it imports 84% of its oil needs. So, renewable energy sources are the only option to reduce the oil demand in the country and constantly fight the insecurity in the global trade. Also, the second reason is to reduce the pollution levels because a lot of greenhouse gases are released from burning these fossil fuels, and 7 out of top 10 most polluted cities of the world are in India. And the third reason is electrification of rural areas. See, India still has many areas that do not have access to electricity, and even if they have electricity access, it is not for 24 hours. So, this electrification of those remote areas and inaccessible terrains is not possible without using the grid connectivity. So, the renewable energy sources are the only option. Now, let us talk about some of the important natural resources one by one. In this context, the first one we are going to talk about is hydro energy. So, what is hydro? Hydro means water. So, hydroelectricity is a form of energy that is generated from the water in motion, like the water flowing over a waterfall or the dams, reservoirs, and that water is used to generate the electricity. So, now if you look at this picture, first this is the storage reservoir. From this, the water is flown onto the turbine through the penstock, and when the water falls with the force on this turbine is rotated, and here attached to the turbine is a generator, and from this the electricity is generated, and the water comes down in this downstream. Now, even this hydroelectricity has some disadvantages, like the water gets locked in the reservoir, and there might be seasonal variations there where we don't have water, and we need to look at the safety issues related to the dam, and also the ecological flow of the river might get damaged because of this kind of reservoirs. So, the next one we are going to talk about is solar energy. See, solar means sun. So, it is the energy generated from the sun, and that is converted into either thermal energy or the electrical energy. So, these solar technologies can harness this energy for a variety of uses like generating electricity, providing light or a comfortable interior environment, and heating water for the domestic, commercial, or industrial use. And there are many benefits using this solar energy, like it is eco-friendly, it is economical too, and it is renewable, like it's available a lot in the environment, and it is a clean source of energy, and there are no carbon emissions. Maintenance cost is also low, less dependence on the fossil fuels, and also it is a source of income for different groups of people. Now, this is how the solar panels are placed on the terrace or the roof. And basically, this is a solar panel, and this is how the radiation is falling on it. And if you look at the solar panel, it is made up of solar modules. So each module is made up of solar cells which look like this. So each solar module makes a solar panel, and different solar panels together is called a solar PV system, and these are the different parts of the solar PV system. The next one we are going to talk about is wind energy. See, for wind energy describes the process by which the wind is used to generate the electricity. It is obvious from the name itself. See, the wind turbines convert this kinetic energy in the wind into the required mechanical power. So this job can be done by a generator which is placed over here. So first the wind with its speed blows this rotor blade, which rotates the gearbox and gives the required output, which goes to the generator. So from this the power is generated and thus it goes to the transformer. So next one is the ocean thermal energy. In this process, it is nothing but a process or technology of producing energy by harnessing the temperature differences or the temperature gradients, which is the difference between the temperatures of the ocean surface waters and the deep ocean waters. So this difference is used to generate electricity. Now this is how the water is evaporated, and this water vapor is used to run the turbine and the generator, and from this the cold water vapor is pumped into the condenser, and thus this water is drained into the sea again, and from here the electricity is taken out using a transmission cable. The next one is the ocean tidal energy, which means the tides, which means the natural rise and fall of the ocean tides. This motion of the sea or the water is used to generate a kind of renewable energy. Some of these technologies include boat turbines and paddles also. Tidal energy is produced by the surge of the ocean waters, which means the rising and the fall of tides. So this tidal energy is renewable because as long as the tides exist in the oceans, it can produce electricity. Here you can see in the picture, this is the ocean, and structures like these are placed in the ocean. The next one is the geothermal energy. So it is made up of two words. Geo means earth and thermal means heat. Basically, the heat inside the earth is used to generate the energy, kind of energy. This is called as the geothermal energy, and it is renewable because the heat is continuously produced inside the earth. People use this geothermal heat for bathing, to heat the buildings, and to generate the electricity. And how does this work? First, like from here, the cold water is pumped into the hot water, and these vapors are used to run the turbines which are placed here. And from the turbine, it is connected to the generator which produces the electricity, and thus the electricity is generated, and the cold water vapor is again pumped into this cooling tower and again pumped into here. This is how the power is generated. The next one we are going to talk about is the hydrogen fuel cell energy. See, hydrogen is considered as a clean fuel because it is, when consumed in a fuel cell, produces only water which is not at all harmful. So what are these electrolytic processes? See, the water which is denoted by H2O can be separated into hydrogen and oxygen through a process called electrolysis. These electrolysis processes take place in an electrolyzer, which functions much like a fuel cell but in a reverse way. Instead of using the energy of a hydrogen molecule like a fuel cell does, an electrolyzer creates the hydrogen for the water molecules. So this is the working of a fuel cell. Now, what is a biofuel? See, any hydrocarbon fuel that is produced from a organic matter, which means which either lived earlier or which is a living matter, in a short period of time, which might be days, weeks, or even months, and this fuel is called a biofuel. Since biofuel can be of any form, like the solid, liquid, or even gaseous in nature. Now, if you look at some of the examples of these biofuels, under the solid ones, you get wood, dried plant material, and manure. If you look at the liquid ones, they are bioethanol and biodiesel are liquid. And biogas is in gaseous form. And if you look at this picture, the process of how a biofuel is produced is given. The biomass and the bio waste goes into a biorefinery where this ash is recycled, but the output material is the biofuels, heat or the electricity, and some of the biomaterials also. Now, if you look at the types of biofuel, they are of different generations, like the first, second, third, and fourth. And under the first generation, the edible biomass comes like the sugar beet, sugar cane, wheat, corn, etc. Under the second generation ones, we get the non-edible biomass like the wood, straw, grass, or even the waste. Under the third generation, we have a algal biomass, which includes both macro as well as the microalgae. And the fourth generation biofuels include breakthrough like the pyrolysis, solar to fuel, engineered algae, gasification, etc. Now, what is biogas and how is it produced? It is produced by anaerobic decomposition, which means in the absence of air, decomposition of the organic matter like the sewage from animals and humans. This major proportion of biogas is methane and carbon dioxide, though it also has small other proportions of hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and many other things. This is commonly used for heating, electricity, and for automobiles also. And how is this produced? See the livestock waste, crop waste, waste water, and food waste is pumped into an anaerobic digester from which the both biogas and the digestate are produced. And this digestate is nothing but fertilizer, soil amendments, and is used for livestock bedding. And this biogas can be converted into heat and electricity, and also it can be converted into biomethane, which works as a fuel as well as it is sent to gas grid also. The next method is the waste to energy resource, from which the waste is converted into a fuel. This waste to energy plants burn municipal solid waste, which is often called the garbage or trash, which we throw out. This is used to produce the steam in a boiler. That steam is used to generate the electricity. The residues also can be used to produce biofuel and biogas. And in this picture, the process of production of a waste to energy plant is given. First, the waste is collected, and this waste is sent to the waste plant where the processing is done, and energy is released through fuel, gas, or even electricity also. Now, let us talk about different renewable energy initiatives started in our country. Now, some of the government measures taken to make us self-reliant in power generation and to achieve more energy transition towards clean energy are to set the target of increasing the renewable energy capacity to go up to 450 gigawatts. The second one is the phase-wise retirement of old and polluting coal-based power plants. Also, setting up of ultra mega renewable energy parks to provide land and transmission to the developers on a plug and play basis. Also, the government started schemes such as PM Kusum scheme, solar rooftop phase 2, 1200 megawatt CPSU scheme phase 2, etc. Also, the government laid down new transmission lines and created new substation capacity under the Green Energy Corridor scheme for evacuation of renewable power. Also, notifying of bidding guidelines for the tariff-based competitive bidding process for the procurement of power from grid-connected solar PV and wind projects. Also, the government declared large hydropower projects as a renewable energy resource which have capacity greater than 25 megawatt. Also, the hydro purchase obligation HPO as a separate identity was declared within a non-solar renewable purchase obligation. Also, tariff rationalization has been done, which measures for bringing down the hydropower tariff. Budgetary support for the flood moderation or storage of hydroelectric projects. Also, the government decided to provide a budgetary support to the cost of enabling infrastructure, that is, the roads or bridges for the hydroelectric projects. The next one is we're going to talk about is the National Solar Mission. The original name of this mission is the Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission. It was launched in January 2010 by the Government of India as a part of the National Action Plan on Climate Change NAPCC. What is the target of this mission? It had set a target of 20,000 megawatts of grid connected solar power by the year 2022, and this was revised in June 2015 to 1 lakh megawatt by 2022. The 100 gigawatt solar power capacity has been divided into rooftop solar electricity generation, which is a 40 gigawatt, large and medium scale grid connected solar power projects of 60 gigawatt, to achieve 15 million square meters of solar thermal collector area by 2017 and 20 million by 2022. It also sets a target to deploy 20 million solar lighting systems for the rural areas by the year 2022. And now, if you look at the funding to this mission, the total cost for the upgradation to 100 gigawatt solar power capacity would be 94 billion US dollars, and the central government is also planning to leverage bilateral and international donors, which includes the Green Climate Fund under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change UNFCCC. It also plans using the bundling mechanism with thermal power. Also, the investments would come from large public sector undertakings. These funds would be generated from the independent power producers also. The next one is grid connected solar power rooftop program, which was established with the objective to generate solar power by installing solar panels on the roof of the houses. The Ministry of the New and Renewable Energy is implementing this phase 2 of the grid connected solar rooftop program. It aims to achieve a cumulative capacity of 40,000 megawatt from rooftop solar projects by the year 2022. Says this scheme in the states is implemented by the distribution companies in those states. Also, the residential consumer has to pay the just the cost of the rooftop solar plant by reducing the subsidy amount which is provided by the ministry as per the prescribed rate by the vendor. If you look at the other objectives of the project, those include promoting the grid connection SPV rooftop, to mitigate the dependence on fossil fuel based electricity generation, to create enabling environment for investing in the solar energy, and also this includes to promote the supply of solar power from rooftops and also small plants to the grid. The next scheme is the Solar Park Scheme. It provides us to provide financial support by the Government of India to establish solar parks in various states in the country, which are which have potential for renewable resources. It also aims to facilitate creation of infrastructure which is necessary for these solar plants. The implementation agency of the scheme would be Solar Energy Corporation of India (SECI) on behalf of the Government of India. The parks will be characterized by well developed infrastructure where the risk and gestation period of the projects will be minimized. At the state level, the solar parks will enable the states to bring significant investments from the project developers on solar power sector, which is to meet its solar purchase obligation mandates and also provide employment opportunities to the people in those areas. The state will also be able to reduce its carbon footprint by avoiding emissions equivalent to the solar park's generation capacity. Now, what is this International Solar Alliance? See, it is a treaty based intergovernmental organization which is working to create a global market system to tap the benefits of solar power and also to promote green energy applications. The International Solar Alliance plays a fourfold role in establishing a global solar market, which is an accelerator, an enabler, also an incubator and a facilitator. The vision of this International Solar Alliance is to create a one sun, one world, one grid. The next one is the sustainable rooftop implementation for solar transfiguration in India. It will be completely regulated by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. It will offer financial incentive to the beneficiary for installing solar power plant rooftop projects within the country, not distant. It is also considered as the advanced version of the MNRE scheme. See, the central government also said that it will be integrating with the DISCOMs so that the process of the solar subsidy can be implemented smoothly. Residents will also be offered with a benefit for installing inline capacity according to the regulations of a local government for generating power according to their personal needs. See, a subsidy will be provided by the central government for generating a 5 kilowatt power capacity as compared to the power plant. The National Wind Solar Hybrid Policy aims to promote a large grid connected solar wind PV hybrid system. It also aims to reduce the variability and the renewable power generation and also achieve a better grid stability. Now, how is this important? This would help us in optimal and efficient utilization of transmission infrastructure and also the land. The Union government has set an ambitious target of achieving 175 gigawatts of installed capacity from the renewable sources only by the year 2022, and this also includes 100 gigawatt of solar, 60 gigawatt of wind power capacity. The Ministry of the New and Renewable Energy has issued this policy on 14th May 2018 with an aim to boost renewable power generation by promoting new projects as well as hybridization of these existing projects. Next one is the Green Energy Corridor project. See, it is a project for the evacuation of renewable energy from generation points to the load centers by creating intrastate and interstate transmission infrastructure. It is under implementation in renewable resources rich states for the likely renewable power capacity addition during the 12th 5-year plan. The intrastate transmission component of this project is being implemented by the respective states, and the PGCIL, which stands for the Power Grid Corporation of India Limited, is implementing the interstate transmission component. This Power Grid Corporation of India Limited has taken loans from the Asian Development Bank for this implementation of the project. Some of the renewable energy rich states are the Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. The next one is the National Clean Energy Fund. The government announced its plan of reducing the carbon intensity by 24% from the 2005 levels by the end of 2020. And as a result of this plan, this National Clean Energy Fund was created in the year 2010 and 11. See, this fund has been created out of a cess on the coal produced or the coal imported under the polluted pays principle. For funding and research of these innovative projects in the clean energy technologies of both the public sector as well as the private sector entities up to the extent of 40% of the total project cost. Any project or scheme related to the clean energy technology research and development will be eligible for funding under this National Clean Energy Fund. See, this assistance is available as a loan or as a viability gap funding depending upon the type of decision taken by the NCEF. The fund is designed as a non-lapsable fund under public accounts and with its secretariat in the Department of Expenditure of the Ministry of Finance. The next one is the National Biogas and Manure Management Program. It is a central sector scheme which is primarily set up for rural households and semi-urban households. So it provides with setting up of family type biogas plants. They generate biogas from organic substances like the cattle dung and maybe other biodegradable materials such as the biomass from the kitchens and our garden and any other place. The aim of this program is to provide a clean cooking fuel and also meeting other small power needs of the farmers and individual households. It also aims in reducing drudgery of the women and help them save time for other livelihood activities and also improving the sanitation facilities in rural and semi-urban areas by linking the sanitary toilets with cattle dung biogas plants. And also it helps in reduction in causes of climate change by preventing the emission of greenhouse gases. The next one is the National Hydrogen Energy Mission. The 2021-22 budget has announced for a National Hydrogen Energy Mission that will draw up a roadmap for using hydrogen as an energy resource because it is a clean energy resource. This initiative has the potential of transforming the transportation sector entirely. This National Hydrogen Energy Mission will capitalize on one of the most abundant elements on Earth, which is hydrogen, for a cleaner alternative fuel option as we talked earlier. It focuses on generation of hydrogen from green power resources and also to link India's growing renewable capacity with the hydrogen economy. See, the India's ambitious goal of 175 gigawatt by 2022 got an impetus in the 2021-2022 budget, which allocated rupees 1500 crores for the renewable energy development and national hydrogen energy mission. The usage of hydrogen will not only help in India in achieving its emission goals and which are notified under Paris Agreement, but it will also reduce import dependency on fossil fuels. Now, there have been many other initiatives like the biomass power and cogeneration program, which is being implemented with an objective of promoting technologies for optimum use of country's biomass resources for grid power generation. Also, the government is allowing 100% FDI in renewable energy sector and automatic route, and this makes obvious that no prior government approval is needed for this. Also, the production linked subsidy scheme where the incentives for high efficient solar PV modules were provided for enhancing India's manufacturing capabilities also exports. The National Offshore Wind Energy Policy was started to develop the offshore wind energy in the exclusive economic zone along the Indian coastline. The Akshay Urja portal and the All India Renewable Idea Exchange portal promotes the exchange of ideas among energy conscious Indians and the global communities. So we have discussed all the important initiatives in detail. Thank you and all the very best.